Frazier Friday. Kratz, did you recognize that well-dressed, handsome man on the ESPN broadcasts calling Tigers Astros?
Watch out now.
He's gonna pick. You know what's in his head right away. He goes, who else is on that broadcast? I'm gonna say that name. He's going, oh, Michael K was really well-dressed. Did I steal it?
No, that's not it. I'm just thankful that Todd's neck made it out of the broadcast because that suit was like up here. He was like, man, that kid right there, he was really getting, the suit was like all around his neck. He's like, oh man, he got his foot in the ground, really made that throw. That is a big time throw. That is a big time throw. It's like, man, just wear a suit that just relaxes a little bit. Get a V-neck or something one time.
A V-neck suit? Come on.
What?
Man.
V-neck suit? He sounded like Bobby Boucher just now, by the way.
Bobby Boucher. Hey, I was nice and loose around that neck, baby.
Yeah. Well, how was it?
It was good.
Yeah?
It was good, yeah.
You have a good time with the boys?
Yeah, had a really good time, man. It was anytime I'm with Tim Kirchin, it's always going to be a good time. This guy is a walking baseball almanac, as we know. Michael K is top tier, the best of the best to do what he does in his job, and we had a good time, man. We really did. I thought we worked well together, and fortunately, we didn't get 3 games. That's what I was hoping for. But the Tigers look really, really good now. Everybody's asking me the questions: can they do a 5-game series? How are they going to do in 7 when they only have 1 starter? We'll get into that, and we'll try and figure that out and dive it down. So, but overall, it was a great series and some clutch hitting at the end.
I like when you and Kirkjian go at it where he drops some like crazy stat or number and Todd always has like a different version of a diss for him. You've got like the classics, like were you at that game?
Yes,
right. But then you had a few others up your sleeve. I'm trying to remember on the fly what else you said.
There's just so many because he doesn't make them up. He comes up with these stats. We're talking Ty Cobb. Like, and the ongoing thing that like whenever like we're in a commercial, I'm like, Ty effing Cobb, we're just something to laugh about, and that's what Timmy does, bro. He doesn't forget anything. It's insane. He'll bring up these names from 1940 and this and that, and I'm like, how do you remember that? That is my job, Todd. Okay, I got you.
Right. That's the thing, though. It's not sure you're gonna have your notes and your stats. Everyone's got their prep, but then he'll drop stuff off the top of his head, and you're like, what from? What year?
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible.
It was good.
It was. Thanks.
All right. Well, there was one series that went 3 games. It wasn't Todd Father's series, but let's hit it. Charging the mound. Who saw this? I mean, Kratz and I were on a post-game show. Encourage everyone to check that out later on the YouTube channel. Give it a subscribe. Check it out. We went nuts for half hour after the Mets and Pete Alonso topped Devin Williams and the Brewers.
Wow.
But what were you thinking when you caught that? Because in the 9th inning, everyone's already talking about what's next. They're like, oh, what are we going to think, is going to happen in this Brewers-Phillies series? And, oh, what a nice run for the Mets, blah, blah, blah.
So my son's a big Mets fan, my oldest Blake, and he had hip-hop competition dance going on at night, and he was so mad he got to miss. So I'm hitting him up on his iPhone watch, 0-0 top 1, 0-0 top 3. And it went 6 innings. The minute he walked in, I'm doing the dishes, as hard as you guys can believe that. I'm doing the dishes. I have a TV in the kitchen. I'm looking. He walks in. I'm like, what's up, Blake? Oh, no. Home run. I'm like, Blake, get out of the house. We're laughing. I was laughing about it. Next batter, bam, another one. I'm like, Blake, seriously, go to your room, go under the covers, and don't come out until the game's over. And he was so upset. We're sitting there. Usually he gets to bed at an earlier time. Like, you're staying up. Let's go. We're watching.
This is the one where you let the kids stay up.
You let them stay up. It's probably going to happen again about 10 more times.
Right.
And long story short, he's sitting, literally on one of the tables with his legs folded like this, Lindor walk. Nemo gets the single, 1st and 3rd, and Pete Alonso comes up with that monster. I mean, he ran around the house like they won the World Series. It was a cool moment to be with your kid at that, watching all that happen. They end up winning 4-2. What a moment for Pete Alonso. What a moment for the Mets. I mean, you think about this, Pete Alonso, people are crushing him. He struggled, whatever it was. It wasn't the same Pete Alonso this year. He had over 34 homers in race. I mean, who wouldn't take that? People are thinking this guy needs to hit 50 homers. And, at the end of the day, this guy was an absolute beast. takes one swing, Scott. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but it takes one swing and boom, put the Mets on the shoulder right there. And that was just an awesome moment for him. He is the big apple when it comes to the Mets and Queens. That guy needs to be there for as long as possible. They need to figure it out right after it's done. I don't care what happens next.
He was like, he made his money. Iglesias apparently during that or right before was like, you're going to have a big homer. You know, there were all those kind of talks.
Yeah.
And then Pat Murphy, Brewers manager, kind of just tipped his cap. He's
Yeah.
like, look, if we got to this point, if you told me, hey, in this series, we're going to get to a game 3 up by a run with Devin Williams, I'm good, right? Like, I did my job. Devin Williams got beat, and he's like, we got beat by 3 All-Stars with great ABs, including Lindor's AB when he's got 2 strikes against him. And for most batters, that's good night when it's Devin Williams. He's what, a top 3, at least top 5 closer in the game, if not better.
Top 3 closer. I loved how Pat Murphy called Nemo. Made me laugh the entire time in a moment of sadness for Brewers fans. But they weren't up by a run. They were up by 2 runs. A 2-run lead with Devin Williams. Every single manager, all 30 managers would have taken that in any situation, regular season, postseason, World Series. It's improbable. I mean, it's the first time that a pinch hitter, when Jake Bauers came up and hit a go-ahead pinch hit home run. First time in postseason history. Then Pete Alonso comes up and hits a go-ahead home run in the 9th inning or later with your team down. Like, it was historic. It was a historic game, but Milwaukee is crushed today because this continues to happen. And remembering that it continues to happen, if you like coincidences, every single team in the last that has eliminated the Brewers since 2018, starting with the Dodgers, has made it to the World Series. So if you're going to put a little cash down, just saying it might be the Metropolitans.
Subway Series. Oh, sorry.
Could happen.
Oh, how you wouldn't even be able to choose. You would have to put more color back in your beard, and you wouldn't have to be able to choose.
I go orange and navy blue, midnight blue.
Yep.
Listen, I'd be at all those games. Kratzy, you and me, let's go. Beers on you, popcorn on Scott. I'll get the tickets. Deal?
Kratz's Phillies might take down these Amazons.
Oh, Peter Pumpkin.
This pumpkin. What's the deal with this thing?
He went to like a farm, right? And got the pumpkin with his wife on one of the off days. And
why?
Because his first name's Peter, and it goes with pumpkin.
Pumpkin eater.
Wait, why? Why? Go back to that picture, please, Jer. Just go back to that picture. Is there not a more Pete Alonso picture than that with that smile, the pumpkin with his huge mitt and 2 beers? Like, if there is not if we don't have a picture for the rest of the postseason for Pete Alonso, that is it. Like, I want to make that my profile pic.
Well, that's why he's special. So, I got the family group chats going nuts yesterday. And during the game, especially late in the game, they're like, here comes Pete's last at bat soon.
That's what I thought.
As a New York Met. And they're asking me for my take on what I think will happen. And I did say, he was, if the report was true, and I'm pretty sure it was, he was offered a little over a year ago, 7 years, $153 million. That was with the old group. That was before Stearns took over. And that was, I think, before the 2023 season. That's good coin. What happens here is you're going to have a marketplace where he had the swing of his life, but he's coming off a down year. And
I would take that year.
I agree, but I'm saying for his purposes. And the analytics dudes say you're a first baseman, you're not the best athlete in the game, and we have the projections that say you're going to decline too much to be good enough to deserve a contract that beats what you got offered, 7 years, 153. The Mets are going to look and say, Vientos, not great at third. I'd rather have him at first and put Mauricio at third. I'm just saying that was what I started to type to them. I go, but
you're putting
this dude is a heart and soul guy. He's quirky in the best way. He markets the game better than anyone. He could hit 50 homers of the year for the next, X amount of years. So I was like, I don't know if he'll end up there, but I do think he's a fit there because also it is very difficult for players to thrive in New York as a superstar. And he's been able to do that for a long time now and really like have nothing against him.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, he doesn't get in trouble. He doesn't
No.
even say anything wrong. Like everything he says is either different in a good way or unique, like it's funny. So he's a great fit there. But if Boris asks for $200 million, he's not going anywhere and he's going to put himself in a bad spot. But I do think, this should be his home.
I think it most definitely should be his home. This is where he wants to be. He's comfortable there. He does a lot for the community. He raises a lot of money for, outside causes. He hits 30 plus homers every year too. So Pete Alonso is the Big Apple when it comes to Queens. This guy is lovable. He's careable, if that's even a word, right? Careable. He's caring.
Caring.
He's caring.
Very
terrible.
And he's just a dude. He's that dude, and everybody will tell you if you play with him, he's that goofy young guy, which I love and enjoy. He deserves to be there a long time. If I'm calling, it's like a fine car. If the car is worth $100,000 and you like it that much, pay the extra money for the man.
Yeah, he made them playoff money alone right now. With one swing, otherwise their season's done. Right?
Revenue.
Yeah, now they get at least one home game and perhaps more, obviously, as long as it's not too short of a series. And then Kratz, for your side, I'd like to know, what is it with Milwaukee? Right? They did everything they were supposed to do this year. So they won the division. They put themselves in a pretty good spot. I guess you could have made the case, they should have gotten a bye. But look, they put themselves in a wild card series where they had all home games. They're a good team. They lost Yelich. They didn't have the shiniest starting pitching, but that wasn't the problem. Tobias Myers was freaking shoved yesterday. They couldn't touch that fastball. They could. They got under him, but they barely touched him, right? And he had shutout baseball. So what is wrong with the Brewers in the playoffs in recent past? Because they're in almost every year. What is it, 5 of the last 6 years?
6 of the last 7.
Oof. What's wrong? What's the problem? Because what's the roster construction issue?
They got rid of me in 2019 spring training. They would have won 3 World Series if they would have just kept me around. That is it.
Okay. That's the best analysis you've ever given on 2 years on this show.
Man. What is the issue? Everyone's going to point to their flaws. They scored 2 runs in a elimination game. Their lineup's just never deep enough. To me, I say that's tired. Nobody could explain why they were winning. Nobody could explain why they were winning with 1 out to go, and they had a 2-run lead. Yeah, 2 runners on, but they were that close. And Milwaukee fans, it sucks today, but you need to appreciate this run that now Matt Arnold, before David Stearns, had put together, and how Pat Murphy has stepped into Craig Counsell's role, who I think Craig is an unbelievable manager. I don't think Murph did anything wrong. Even pushing the button of putting Freddie Peralta in, he did nothing wrong. He managed his face-off and put these guys in a situation to win, and I think they're going to be back there again. Is Tito Francona? Not to bury the lead on the next story, but is Tito Francona going to bring the Reds to beat them next year? We got to stop taking the under on the Brewers win total, right? It's like 7 straight years.
Yeah, but I'm just, curious always. Didn't Dodger fans feel this way too, right? Where they've had such a long run of success and they're like, why do we only have 1 title out of it? And I get that. I understand that. So I do think there's a massive difference between the postseason and the regular season. I don't know if anyone's got the formula down. You can make a case for the Giants about 10 years ago and the Astros in recent history. Those are the 2 teams that consistently were putting together winners that were getting to, the World Series or winning World Series or both. So anyway, I'm just curious what's wrong there. That's going to be the question in the offseason. The easy answer.
I don't think anything's wrong.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Then they should continue to do this.
That's just baseball today.
But if this happens for 10 years, they keep dominating divisions and they don't win a World Series or they don't even get close, then fans are going to be pissed and they're going to be like, what's going on here? Why can't we get over the top in a 3-5 game series?
I think your point is valid, though.
Okay.
I think it's very much so valid. 6 out of the last 7 years and not making even the World Series.
Right. You're not doing much. It's like the Twins. There's certain teams where you're like, what's going on?
I'm not bashing them, but there's validity in what you're saying.
Sure. It might be the star power effect, but we'll see. Let's talk to Ken Rosenthal next. He's waiting for us. He'll be ready to go with a Padres-Dodgers series that's going to get a ton of attention. We'll preview it coming up. I will give the people a little bonus. So a few things. One, Howie Rose, longtime radio broadcaster for the Mets, had just this insanely epic call. He's been really good, top of the class, for a long time. And then they played it on the team plane.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
That is cool.
And I know from playing with the Mets, he was a guy you could sit down and talk to like a buddy at the bar, man. Some good conversations with him. And I know inside, as we're watching him get excited over the boys firing up inside, I know how happy he was. He's been doing this for a long time, man. And, as a radio guy, you don't get really that much credit for doing things, but he's the only guy that was there from the Mets that, all the radio guys still get to do the games. Mm-hmm. It's the lead broadcasters that
the TV doesn't, but the radio does.
So for him, solid moment for him. I know he's going to cherish that video for as long as he lives.
That's super cool. And props to the Mets. They do have a really good vibe check. You can be really nice guys and still suck at baseball, but the Mets are doing entertaining, caring things this year for the sport, for their broadcasters.
Yeah. That never happens.
That's my point.
That never happens.
Right?
And for that to happen, he probably took a glass of wine afterwards or whatever he's drinking, like, oh, yeah. I'm one of them tonight.
I got it good. It's good. Because often you feel like you're on the outside, if you're a media member, and that's fine.
You're still there 162. Well, even more for spring training. You're still there. So good.
Yeah.
Like to
one thing, the video for me, I've never seen like signs on the plane seats, like players zone, media zone C.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. If you watch the video back, you'll see it. It's like, it's funny to me, but they'll invite everybody back. The boys were getting after it. You can even see if a bottle of something. Watch right there on the seat, zone C. Hang on, Another one coming up on another seat here. You just can't go past your certain zone, players zone.
Yeah, the back of the plane. That's the club. But
I mean, one time, get some first class seats in that, John, too.
It was sunny too in there, right? That's true. And
very,
it was sunny in
very
there.
surprised at that too. That was,
playoffs is different.
That plane ride's what?
Well, you got to get a bigger. Yeah, understood. I feel like you got to get a bigger one.
Yeah, Mets up for much more on that series, so check it out. Also, Draftneck Mark has to name his kid Pete Alonso Luino now. If you don't believe me, look it up. Inside Scoop time with our FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. Ken, great to see you. We got one more before you start up your series, Dodgers and Padres. Before that, we'll really dive into that. Your thoughts and reaction to what was a super cool game yesterday with the Mets and the Brewers. What'd you think of that one?
It was an amazing game and amazing right to the end. Great pitching early. And then the Brewers taking the lead on the back-to-back homers by Bowers and Frelick, two guys you wouldn't have expected. That was really cool, but the coolest thing of all was Alonso. And here's a guy that among the Mets fan base has taken a lot of heat this year, and he's always been a really good Met. You can say what you want about his performance. Listen, no player is perfect. We all know that. But he's been loyal. He's been good in the community. He's been a solid team guy, and to see him have that moment after a difficult time, even the drop pop-up last night, that to me was really kind of what the game is, and at its most beautiful, because my favorite thing in the sport is when guys who are down rise up and kind of defy expectations, what the media might be saying, fans might be saying, and he did that. And he delivered the biggest moment of his career, and it was just a really cool thing to see.
Right. He had an underdog moment, as crazy as it is for a guy that's had a lot of success. It felt like an underdog scenario with Devin Williams and the struggles that he had. So it was very cool. So now size up what you've got in whatever it is, 24 hours. You've got the Padres and the Dodgers. What are some key points? And if you can at some point mix in how you think Shohei Ohtani is going to handle his first playoff experience.
Given that he had this ridiculously hot September, given that he had an amazing WBC as both a hitter and pitcher, I don't know that the pressure is going to bother him. Obviously, we've seen many superstars in the past press in their first postseason, in their fifth postseason, even beyond that. But that to me is not the issue here. He's going to hit. The Dodgers are going to hit, in my opinion. The question I have is how they're going to get through this from a pitching standpoint. And I know Yamamoto's going game one, and of course Flaherty game two, and those are two quality starting pitchers, no question about it. Though Flaherty has not been as good in his last few, and Yamamoto is still kind of building back up. Then what? Then Buehler and Knack, okay, and can their bullpen, which is rather deep and has some really good guys at the back end, can it hold up? And that is the issue that the Dodgers are going to face here. Can they pitch well enough to hold down a Padres team that, in my opinion, has one of the better balanced lineups in the game right now? So it's going to be a great series. Two passionate fan bases, two passionate ballparks. I'm really looking forward to it.
Let me ask you this. Let's stick on this for a little bit. Musgrove was hurt the last time he went out and pitched there. Only made it through a couple innings. Have you heard anything about him and what his situation is coming through in this series?
I don't know yet. And obviously it was not good. I would not expect to see him this series. They've got Darvish waiting in the wings. They've got Cease in game one, Darvish possible game two. Michael King, I would imagine, could go game three. They're going to be okay. Obviously, you'd rather have Musgrove than not, but we'll just have to wait and see, Todd, there what exactly transpires with that elbow.
And now I want to stick on the same kind of thing, but for the Mets too as well. I'm kind of hopping back and forth. Kodai Senga, he's a guy they've been talking about too. Do you see him actually coming back and making an impact for the Mets?
They're talking about it. And the Athletics' Will Salmon reported last night that the Mets are discussing right now whether to bring him back, knowing he can only make short appearances. He'd essentially be like an opener if he was added to the roster. And do you want to take a roster spot in the division series and devote it to a player who will be that limited? That's the decision they face. I would not be surprised to see Senga, however.
Are people's jobs on the line in LA? I know we've talked about Dave Roberts' job, but is it a round specific job on the line? Like if they're bounced again and they don't hit like they did last year against the Diamondbacks, or is it a, hey, you make it to the World Series and Doc keeps his job?
Erik, I don't know. And that's one of the storylines here. What is going to happen if they flame out again, whether it's in the DS or the NLCS for that matter? I have a hard time believing how you can hold Dave Roberts accountable when you've had 12 starting pitchers on the injured list this season, when Mookie was out for a time, when Freddie was out for a time, when you've had all of these things happen and you still finished in the regular season with the best record in the major leagues. So there are times, and we've seen this, we saw it really with David Bell too, where teams just decide they need a new voice. Does that happen with Dave Roberts? I would doubt it, but you never know what might occur in a playoffs type situation, and you never know what the mood, the vibe might be if they go out early again. So I don't rule it out, Erik, but I do know this. It would not be deserved. And Dodger fans can say, well, we haven't won with this guy. That might be true. You haven't won a World Series. You've won more games than any team in Major League Baseball in the regular season since he's been the manager, amid all kinds of circumstances, especially this year with all the injuries. So to put it at his feet would be, in my view, unfair. Honestly, the front office and the approach to pitching and the fact that so many of these pitchers get hurt, that is the bigger question.
And I would say, if you're looking to get rid of somebody like a Dave Roberts, would every other team want him? Then maybe you should probably keep him, because Dave Roberts is going to take somebody else's job. You don't even need a job opening. Dave Roberts would take most people's jobs. So that's where I sit on it. But with Freddie Freeman, it seems like this is a serious ankle injury where there was a chance he wasn't going to play. I don't think there's ever a chance that Freddie's not going to play in a game because he plays all the time in the series. Is there a chance that they have somebody that will fill in late innings after his fourth at bat and, take him off the field? Or is this Freddie for 9 or 13 innings, whatever you got?
Remains to be seen. And that initial sight of him in a walking boot the night he injured his ankle, to me, that was not good. And that was alarming and an indication that this could be a real problem. And they have not ruled him in for this series yet or really said much of anything about where he stands. They're going to find out. If he is unable to go, they've got Kike Hernandez. They've played him at first. They can do some different things. But my goodness, Freddie Freeman is one of their big three, right? And he's someone that, when he is healthy and even when he's not 100%, is one of the best hitters in the game, best hitters of this generation. So he's critical for them. And if for some reason he's out, the question you asked about Ohtani becomes more relevant because you take hitters away and then it becomes easier to pitch around guys and all these things that take place. I know Betts hits behind Ohtani, I get that, but it just is a different dynamic in the lineup. So we'll see. This is one of the questions lingering over this series.
Tito Francona, the new manager of the Cincinnati Twins, as we've been hearing about.
Reds.
Or excuse me, Cincinnati Twins. Where am I at? Right
If they brought those teams together,
I
they
know.
would be in the playoffs.
That's
I think.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know where my brain is. Of the old Cincinnati Reds, baby. My question to you about this whole thing, I know there's a couple other people involved, like Freddie Benavides. I thought would have also been a good fit there. He's been there for a long time. Do you think Tito – well, let me ask you this. Why do you think Tito went right away? Do you think maybe if he would have waited a little bit, there could have been another opportunity with a team that's already, been apart or been in the playoffs and stuff like that? Or was Tito, do you think he's like, you know what, let me just take this job so I can get one and get back into the game?
Todd, this is an excellent question. And my first response to this was surprise, simply because he stepped down when he was having physical issues and he was not feeling great even about the way he was managing players. It just didn't feel right to him. And this was only a year ago. And yet he jumped back in, and it just seems to me he cannot stay away. This is what he does. This is who he is. And Tito is just going to manage as long as he possibly can. The question you raise about the bird in the hand with Cincinnati versus possibilities that might arise, I would imagine he saw it as, yes, here's a job that's open. I can get it. It's in a similar market to the one I was in before, as opposed to, say, an LA market or a New York market, something like that, where the pressure might be even more intense than it would be in Cincinnati or Cleveland. That might be part of it. His press conference is Monday. There are going to be a lot of questions asked about these kinds of things, and I'm sure he'll have answers.
All right, Ken, let's finish with this. The news that the Minnesota Twins will not have Thad Levine as part of their front office anymore. First off, do we know, was it a firing or just a parting of ways? And anything else you can add to what's going on there?
Hard to know exactly what it was. It's being presented as a mutual parting, that he wants to pursue other opportunities, but at the same time, is he the scapegoat for this? Or is this a situation where him and Falvey weren't as good as they once were? I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure how that all came to pass and came to be. But Thad Levine is a well thought of executive, and I imagine he'll land somewhere. I don't know which role it'll be. I don't know which team it'll be, but I would suspect there's always more to these things than meets the eye initially, and I would suspect that that's the case here too.
Okay. And I'm being told one more because, we kicked this around the other day. The Miami Marlins. I'm actually genuinely curious what the line is here. Like, did they go past the line of what a new regime will usually do? Someone comes in, he wants to kind of take the whole situation over. We've talked about it a couple times this week. Ken, for me, I know, many teams, when there's a new leader of a front office, they do want to change a good chunk of it. Some of these sounded like positions that didn't even have to do with winning or losing. So is this like a line that was crossed, or is this still pretty normal and maybe just a little bit more on the firing side happening all at the same time? Some teams will like layer it out over a course of a year or two.
Scott, I would say this is a situation where the line is crossed. 70 firings since mid-August, 70 people who have lost jobs, and more to come perhaps, because there have been a number of employees told, well, if the new manager or the new something else wants you, we're interested in having you back, but if not, you're gone too. That's a huge number, and it is not a healthy number in my opinion. Some of those people, and I'm not going to give names, I don't know exactly which ones, but I know for a fact from people in the organization that some of those people are quite good at their jobs and they know what they're doing, and they should be assets that the front office there, Peter Bendix led front office, considers that these are people they want going forward. And yet he's cleaning it out, he's gutting it, and we'll see what they bring in. Their party line was, we're going to fill every position and then some. We'll see. if that happens, and we'll see where they end up in 5 years. But I will say this, and I mentioned this, I believe, yesterday or last night. Buster Olney of ESPN pointed out the other day that Pat Gillick, when he was an executive and would take over somewhere, would not clean house. He would look at the situation and determine which people could help him and keep them. And, of course, he would bring in his own people. All new executives do that. Bendix has been on the job for a year, so he has had the time to evaluate. But over the course of my career, even before Gillick, and I covered him in Baltimore, Roland Hemond in Baltimore, the late Roland Hemond, he took over a team in 1988 that was coming off 95 losses in Baltimore. They eventually lost Owen. They went and lost 21 straight to start the 88 season. But when he took over, he said, listen, I know this farm system is a wreck. I know there are problems here, but I will guarantee you there are good people here, and those people deserve to stay. Now, the Marlins didn't fire everyone, but they sure fire a lot of people. And again, we'll see where this all leads.
Conspiracy theory, you can bank on some of this. Some of the people, if they say they're filling all those jobs, will be making less. That's a very common tactic. Oh, this person's making $100,000 to do this. The next person we hire is going to be, a little less experienced, and they're going to make 60. And you just keep doing that, and it starts to add up for a team that's, counting pennies. So I would expect that too. But Ken, thanks. Yeah, thanks for bringing it to light as well. And enjoy the series. We're excited for it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Ken Rosenthal on Fair Territory next week, part of the FT Network, with Alana Rizzo on Thursdays, 12:30 Eastern on the FT YouTube channel. Ken running point early next week. And, of course, you should catch him this weekend. You're going to see Kenny Ballgame on Fox, Padres, and Dodgers. Be right back. You guys believe that conspiracy theory? You chop 100 jobs, and then when you bring in the next one, you bring them in for less? I mean, I've seen it done in baseball for years, so that could be part of the theory here. There's probably a mix, but that's why I keep trying to get the scope of how many people were like he said, 70 plus over a short period of time, and how Ken's never seen this kind of volume taken out in such a short stretch. What's the conspiracy theory though? But to chop 70 in a short period of time,
it's a lot.
Is there anything to that? Do you really think Peter Bednick came in and said, "All right, I got 100 employees already for you that suck. We got to get rid of them"?
Yeah, I don't know what the meetings are. I don't know how they go through all these things, but it's starting to become like silly. It's just like, these people's got future. They're working their butt off too as well. It's like, could they possibly been that bad?
Some changes, yes.
Yes,
but
I mean,
Kratz is looking like you got something for us, dude.
Go ahead, Kratzy.
I'm just saying one good thing that they did it now. Some teams are now signing contracts December to December, which might sound like nothing to everybody, but if you're let go in December, all the spots are filled. So at least they did it now. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that is one positive of the fact that they did it now. But there's no way the Marlins had 70 guys and girls, women that were working there too, that you had to fire, that you had to let go. I'm on Scott's end. If you save $10,000 per employee, I mean, that's easy math. You just saved yourself $700,000.
And guess what? It's a much bigger number than that usually. Trust me. I've spoken to many people in the game over a long period
average.
of time. Right. I would say the average is probably going to be closer to 20, 30, 40, could even be 50. It depends on the gig. I can tell you that's how it works in broadcast. The team broadcasters,
but
when they replace them, it's like half the rate, right? So
but
the
you
team
don't make that much.
who's making who?
People in baseball don't make that much.
Right. You're saying the broadcaster makes much more.
Yes. I'm saying minor league coaches don't make much. Scouts don't make much. Even like managers, not just coaches, managers in the minor leagues, they're not making much. So I would say probably an average of 10,000. Still, it's $700,000. That's a minimum player.
That's true. Let's sizzle. Hot corner time. So, Mr. Red, we did a little thing on him yesterday. We did talk to Kenny Ballgame just now about Terry Francona. But in addition to the wild night in baseball yesterday, Todd Father, then you see your former ball club is picking up Terry Francona. Were you shocked?
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I didn't know. I thought they'd do all this stuff at the end of the playoffs, but it's like, hey, listen, I'm going to try and go get somebody right now. And the Reds went out and decided to get one of the best managers to ever manage in baseball. This guy is an absolute stud. He's an absolute stud off the field. He's a great human being. He will help this Reds team. He knows what to do. A year off, kind of, whether it was the health scare or, to kind of get his mind back where it needs to be and hang out with the family. And I was like, all right, that was cool. I kind of miss it now. So good for the Reds to finally get this. Well, not finally. Good for the Reds to get this done. Good for Tito to get back into the game because we love him and I think we need him in baseball. And that was my only question. I'm like, maybe he could have waited to see how these playoffs went out and other teams getting fired. He could have went on a team. But I know him. If you know him, he's fine with the challenge, and I think he's going to be all right.
You know the phrase, bury me royal, Kratz? Isn't that one they'd use in KC? I feel like for him, it's like bury me a manager. He's like, I want to be a manager for as long as I can. Because the thing that was surprising to me was, that there wasn't more talk like, okay, Tito's definitely coming back and he's going to maybe look around and, he's going to be a kind of a hot number and get pursued by multiple ball clubs. But maybe he assessed the scene and said, yeah, this looks like a good spot for me. I definitely want to come back and be involved. And I'm just like, is he okay? He had like 10 health scares in the last few years. Mm-hmm. So, I haven't kept up with him, but to me, it sounds like good news, Kratz, that he's in much better shape than he was a year ago.
Definitely. The game was wearing on him. He had a couple health scares. AJ said he golfed with him the other day, but the times you hear, and I know you've been in broadcasting for a long time. You worked for the network. Guys sell themselves to get these jobs. When you hear people's names brought up, 90% of the time, they're selling themselves. Bruce Bochy, you never heard his name brought up until got the job. Terry Francona now, you never heard his name brought up till he got the job. Those kind of guys don't need to sell themselves. So I think that's why you didn't hear anything about Tito.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is going to vault them into a more consistent contender? Like, did they underperform in your mind this year? And Tito Francona is going to be the difference maker over a David Bell?
I think it's definitely going to help. I mean, you think about it, they had a couple injuries. You're saying Matty McLean didn't even play, and I think they have a pretty good team, but they need a bullpen. We know that. I mean, just like everybody else, they need the bullpen and they need guys to stay healthy like everybody else. So, they have a good plethora of left-handed pitching too. Abbott, Lodolo, they have some really good pitchers. So
Green took a big step.
He did. We were talking Cy Young about him. I mean, he might be top 5 this year. So, it's exciting time for the Reds, but they need to get healthy and they need to understand that they are good and go out there and play like a championship team.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, let's get to the Twinkies. So, is this the fall guy? I mean, Ken was kind of pondering what happened here, but the Twins front office is led by Derek Falvey, but Thad Levine is a veteran in the industry, and it's kind of been those two working together for a while, and it says he won't return. I could actually see this going a number of ways, Kratz. I could see, them. I don't know where his contract was at, right? It could have been towards the end there, and I know he's gotten plenty of phone calls. Like, for example, Breslow took over for the Red Sox. I think Levine was one of the guys to turn down an interview, and he's turned down interviews for other spots too. So I don't know a ton about him aside from some interviews, but I do think he's pretty respected in the sport. So I think if he wants another job, he's going to be able to pick up another gig pretty quickly. Maybe he becomes the GM of the San Francisco Giants, right? They're out of a GM now.
I've heard a lot of good about that. And I've also heard that a lot of people turned down the job for the Red Sox too. So He's a one name on a long list. You took my idea right out of my mouth. Thad Levine. We don't know if he's fired. We don't know what's happening, but who better? And I don't know. Maybe Buster has somebody. I don't think Brandon Crawford wants to be the GM or Brandon Belt or Madison Bumgarner. So I don't know who Buster's other friends are, but who better? Who better because of what I've heard about Thad Levine, and I never played for the Twins. I think it would be a great fit in the sense that what have the Twins built there? Whether you think they should have spent, didn't spend, more to trade deadline, all that stuff, they have built, with Rocco's help, an organization that really cares about people and cares about bringing good people in and having good players. And I think Buster's all about that. So I would say he's a Giant in the next. Well, he'll be a regular sized person, but he might be the GM for the Giants in the next.
You're on it today, Ken.
That would be an upgrade too in terms of what he's able to do creativity wise. I mean, the Giants just have a much bigger pocketbook than the Twins do. And the Giants do invest in their product behind the scenes and in front. That's why the organization, I know they had their struggles now over the past 6-7 years under Faranzaidi, aside from one season, but they do a really nice job generally. That's why they've had a lot of success. So I do think it'll be an upgrade for him. I've been reading a ton of articles from our friends Hayes and Gleeman in The Athletic, who join us and talk all about the Twins, and they're dialed in. I think it was Gleeman who pointed this out the other day, because the whole thing with the Twins when they were moving ballparks and getting all the money from the city was, we can't keep up in the sport. We're going to be bottom of the barrel, 25th in payroll, whole kind of deal. And he did some math from, those last several years in the old ballpark and in the new one. And he's like, they rank in the same place in payroll. So pulled a fast one as usual, right? Nothing changed in terms of their resources in the sport. Nothing changed. They talked the city into how they were going to be more of a mid-tier team in terms of how they're able to invest in their product, and it's just not true. So that sucks.
Definitely does.
Yeah. All right, you want to get to the little back and forth we had?
I
wanted to get your comment on this one since, you do this all the time.
I used to.
Yeah. You did, right? You've said it a couple times in your life.
In
right?
high school, always.
Yeah. So here's the deal. We had our post-game show again. Make sure you check it out, and we'll do post-game shows after select big games all postseason long. But this took up 10 minutes of our combo in the post-game after Mets Brewers yesterday. This was something from game one, but John Heyman put this news out that Adames, literally, Willie Adames, was waiting in the parking lot for Jesse Winker after game one. I still have a hard time buying this. John's great. I love John. But I'm like, was Adames kidding, or was he really sitting there? And then I need so much more to the story. Like, how long was he sitting there? Was he where was he? Right? Because AJ said, well, why didn't he just go next to the team bus if he really wanted to go after him?
That's true.
You're our specialist on this.
How am I the
meet me in the parking lot guy. I've been waiting for you.
Because I beat Kratz up a couple years
you beat
ago.
Kratz up. You're from Jersey. Like, this is you.
Listen. All I know is when somebody says meet in a parking lot, the first thing I think of in high school basketball, the high school basketball games we used to have, when we used to lose and the other crowd was like, you guys stink, blah, blah, and our next move was always in the parking lot. And this was for real, though. Like, you didn't want to mess with our dudes in the parking lot. So next thing I know, I'm walking out after the game and there's 3 brawls going on in the parking lot. Like that's the real deal. We're all grown adults here. I could see me saying something like this to a dude that popped off to me, of course. And I could see myself waiting in the parking lot. Yeah, I could. But I would have to text somebody over there or text a club. He'd be like, yo, tell them I'm in the park, like something.
Right.
But again, if you find out where the bus is, you could have waited there too as well.
And how long are you waiting, right? There's so many semantics here.
Or, yeah, I know. Or you wait outside your lot, because in Milwaukee, no, they go the other way. So
you wouldn't catch them.
Yeah, Milwaukee's on what?
They go the same way. Visiting guys have to walk past the home clubhouse.
Oh, you're right. All right, so they do go the same way. I'm thinking of where am I thinking? Are you sure? All right, whatever.
You're being called out for being all talk.
Well, Kratzy, at the end of the day, you can meet me in my parking lot any day of the week, kid.
He's got a spot for you.
I park in your parking lot every Friday, and you ain't never once come out. You
Oh,
hightail so fast.
That's your car? Oh, I thought that was the cleaning lady or something. Now I know. Okay.
He's going to
Meet
repossess it.
meet me in your pool. How about that? Meet me in your
Oh,
pool. We gonna swim
damn.
laps.
Yeah, I thought, this is funny to me. I think this is great.
But you saw what Winker did,
can
right?
I
When
explain something to you?
Yeah.
All right, the talking smack. All right, that's it. That's the game within the game. I get it. Kratz used to be like, oh, that's such eyewash. The problem I have with Jesse Winker, why did he throw the helmet yesterday down so hard? Like,
Did you see? He's villain number one in all of Milwaukee
yeah,
right now.
but what was that?
Because
that was uncalled for.
Why?
That
Why was that
was
part
over the
uncalled
top. That
for?
was, I shouldn't say uncalled. It was over the top. You don't throw your damn helmet down. You hit a walk-off home run, throw your helmet down. You threw it as hard as you could. You broke it in 3 pieces. And Devin Williams, if I'm him sitting there, like, yeah, it looked like he wanted to crack him. He stopped for a second, and he looked like he was ready, like, to knuckle up with him. And I'm like, you know what? Good for him. He kind of stopped. If one of those pieces was ricochet and hit me, it was over. Or Devin or Kratz.
Yeah, of course.
I thought, and I like Jesse. I thought that was just a little over the top, man. Your excitement is great. You throw your stuff down, your bat down after you hit a home run, but that, I mean,
he's the crazy eyes guy on the Mets, though.
Yeah,
everyone's got their characters. They have a pop star.
There's here, and then he went above.
Yeah, but they have a pop star. They have a superstar, Lindor. They have quirky Pete, and then they have crazy Uncle Jesse Winker, who is rounding the bases and talking smack to, I think, one of the nicer dudes in the game, right? And Willie Adames. I mean, you played with him,
It was
Kratz.
Freddie. He yelled at Freddie. I contend he yelled at Freddie. But Willie's his best friend.
He rounded second base. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Freddie too. Like, these are guys that don't really start crap. You know what I'm saying?
They finish it.
It's just funny that
this is what gets in the Mets' way. This is what gets in the Mets' way. There's too many gimmicks. Every year there's a gimmick. Oh, in Buck we trust, in this, and dude's drinking out of the water. Like, the Yankees are in the same media market. The Mets have too many gimmicks. Too many gimmicks. Don't let that stuff get in the way. Don't let Jesse Winker slamming his helmet get in the way of what they need to accomplish. Don't let the pumpkin get in the way. And every team has, like the Phillies, they have the suspenders on Garrett Stubbs. Like, everybody has gimmicks. Just don't let that stuff get in the way. This is why the Mets met. And if they just eliminate that stuff, and Jesse Winker, I have to preface what you said. Jesse Winker is not enemy number one in Milwaukee. I tweeted out a tweet. I X'd out a tweet, whatever.
Yeah.
And asked if Milwaukee fans, who's a bigger villain, Machado or Winker? Because Machado kicked Jesus Aguilar's foot in game 4, and we had a little bench clearing. I've never heard somebody booed louder than Manny Machado, and it made me think of it when they were booing Winker yesterday. And hands down, everybody said Machado is still enemy number one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Well, I love this stuff. That's why we have this show, so we talk this stuff out. So,
and listen, I don't mind all of it. I just think he went just a little above and beyond on the helmet throw.
Agree with you.
Yeah.
Agree with you. I'll meet you in the parking lot if you don't agree with me.
And I know you.
That. Yeah. All right. They're going to fight. Exactly.
Now we got a real problem.
It is a problem. Here's the problem, though. We got a player who's in the postseason who's ready to go for us. So, and he's at the park. Brenan Hanifee from the Tigers going to join us next. So we got a little Tigers Guardians talk in there coming up.
And he's incredibly handsome.
Woo! All right, 2 minutes while the Bally Sports TV crowd is on break doing their thing. So I wanted to ask you guys about the Devin Williams-Pete Alonso matchup. We covered a lot around an epic game, but how does Devin Williams, one of the better closers in the game for years now, throw his best pitch and give up an opposite field homer to Pete Alonso? Kratz, I know you did a little bit of number digging, so go for it. What do you got?
Actually, a pretty good matchup for him. If there's a number that Pete hits, I mean, it would be the best. He's going to hit four-seam heaters, really almost exactly the same as he hits changeups. Now, does that mean you don't throw Pete Alonso a changeup? No. You heard Devin Williams talk about it after the game. He wanted to get the pitch away, and he said, it was away, but I didn't get it exactly where I wanted. If you're going to go with a pitch against a guy, and really Devin Williams is a two-pitch guy. Very, very rare anything else other than heater changeup, and it's a lot of changeups. And I remember Todd telling a story about how Pete. Now, tell me if I'm right. Was he check swinging and hitting homers, or was he one hand swinging and hitting homers when you guys were hitting early?
Yeah. The check swing homers.
The check swing
sure.
where he stops. So if there's a guy who's sitting on a pitch, no matter how elite the pitch in the big leagues, and it's Pete Alonso, there's a good chance that ball's going over the fence because that's what he does. And you can't fault Devin for throwing it. You can't fault Pat Murphy for putting him in. You can fault Devin for walking Francisco Lindor. That's where he went wrong.
Yeah, 1-2 to ball 4. Right, it was 1-2. I think the count.
I would have loved right.
No.
Oh, with Lindor, yes,
right?
Yeah,
Lindor. Yeah,
I would have liked to know what Pete and one of the coaches were talking about before he went up to the plate there, because there was a little scene where they showed him and the conversation, because it looked like some of the guys, it's been talked about, he might have been tipping his pitches too as well. I'd have to break that down a little more, but I would love to know, hey, these guys saw this, be prepared for that. And he kind of pointed the other way. So he's kind of like this way. So maybe, the approach was going that way with the ball too as well, but good for Pete.
Yeah,
good for the
Pete. And if they got the tip, good for the team. Good job. Tigers Guardians ALDS firing up tomorrow, Saturday. So let's bring in Brenan Hanifee, a reliever on the Tigers, with us right now. So Brenan, awesome to have you on here for the first time. And I'm saying this jokingly, but AJ Hinch wanted you to just get some extra steps in today just to make sure the cardio was good. So I heard they were just blasting the AC, and you found a nice cozy spot. So thanks for doing that, dude. You sound great. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for the hustle. You found a cozy spot for us? Where are you at?
Cleveland. We're at the field, man.
No, we know you're in Cleveland, but where'd you find a place? Where'd you get into the training room?
Right outside the food room. Tried the dugout,
Soccer.
too loud. Tried the clubhouse office, too loud. Whatever.
Shocker, you're near the food room. One time.
What do you mean?
You're an
Actually,
absolute
down a
spike
few
killer.
pounds. Well,
You're down a few pounds? Oh,
yeah.
Mike Martin would be super upset if you're down a few pounds. Brendan and I worked out together. I worked out. He watched me work out, so that's really what was going on. But he was a young pup. Now he's a big league vet. So down a few pounds. What are you working on, some cardio? You don't want to throw hard anymore?
Nerves are a little high, man. I don't have much of an appetite.
So the gut. So you got a little IBS. You got a little irritable bowel syndrome going on.
A little bit, something. I don't know. Just not that hungry anymore.
Life is not easy anymore. You're not really a starter. You have 3 starts this year in the show, so you're in the pen. That whole like nervousness. I need to hear about it. What's the feel in the pen? Because you really live this life. Are you guys nervous down there?
Not really. Not anymore. I mean, it's been chaos for 2 months, man. We're getting used to it by now.
What does it sound like? What does it sound like when you hear this? No, 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 no. Are you like heartbeat going, or are you like, I hope it's not me. I hope it. Or did they already tell you? Did Hinchy already tell you? All right, Brendan, you got the second inning here.
Sometimes there's a plan, sometimes there's not. But yeah, your heart pounds every time the phone rings, and it's just the way it works. I don't know if you've ever been in the bullpen at all, but when the phone rings, your heart beats, and then you go in there and do your thing, and That's it. You
Hey,
never get. I
listen,
don't think you ever get. I don't think you ever get used to the phone ringing and you go into the game. At least for me, I don't know.
Okay.
I had a conversation with AJ Hinch before the game. We were broadcasting, and I'm telling you right now, I could have stayed in there for another 2 days. I call him a managerial genius. You and him and the pitching coach, they come together for 20, 30 minutes before games, go over every situation. He has an audible, he told me, for these certain situations. You came in the other day and pitched one and two-thirds inning. Huge strikeout against Hayward there in the second inning. Talk a little bit about your manager and what he does and how everybody has bought into playing for we and not I.
Sure. To start, I mean, he's the best manager in the game. He's the smartest, most creative with what he's done with this group of guys. And I think we're the only playoff team ever to have one starting pitcher. So what he's been able to do with this group and how he's mixed and matched and puts you in situations to have success is just hats off to him for being there, done that, and being so creative to have success and ultimately get us to the playoffs. But, I mean, everybody's balled in. We've got the best manager in the game. We got the best starting pitcher in the game and 25 other guys that just want to win. I think that's kind of just the recipe, and that's what we got, and that's what keeps us going.
Did AJ say anything to you guys when you went into Houston? Was he like, guys, I built this house. I know exactly where all the false doors and all the booby traps are. I'll help lead you through that. Did he mention anything about Houston, the environment, like what you guys are going to be going into? Because he was a vet. He is the reason Houston is what they are.
Right. No, he didn't really say a whole lot about it, man. He kind of just hush. Just he knew what he was getting into, but I don't think he wanted to let us know what we were getting into. I think he was kind of just taking all the heat and all the attention and just letting us go play baseball. And it seemed like it was another great plan by him. And what do you know? We go into Houston, beat them twice, and get out of there. So.
All right. So Scuba was going game one. You're sitting there like, we got this. Game one. Okay, whatever. You know, we might win or lose, but Scuba's at least giving us 6.
Yeah, that game was so relaxing, Kratz. Yeah, nice.
So now, after the game ended up being what it was, how good did you sleep the night before game 2? Knowing we don't have Scuba. We have Reese Olson in the pen. You know, Montero's not even on the roster. Maeda's not even on the roster for the wild card. What did that sleep feel like?
It was a good sleep, but you knew you were in there. It was all hands on deck. Everybody knew that. We thought Reese was going to go game 2, ended up not. And we kind of just pieced it together like we've done for the last 2.5 months. Again, everybody, you know, here's your 5 hitters to go face who we think you match up best against. Everybody gets the job done. We hold them to 1 run. You win the game. It's just crazy, man. It's been so much fun, and it's so unconventional, which makes it even more fun.
You guys have 2 guys that had playoff experience coming into that Houston series. My question would be for you guys. For one, we talk about nerves. With not having much experience, you know, what was the talk in the clubhouse? Because you said you weren't nervous, you were excited. I'm sure everybody was. But going into that whole series, it's like you have nobody over the age of 28 on that squad. There's no veteran guy on that team that has been there for 7, 8+ years. So talk to me about who that leader is and how you guys just been doing it with no experience.
I think the leaders, Terry Scooble, Jake Rogers, and then bullpen guys, Foley, Best, the older guys down there that at least have pitched in more big league games than most everybody else down there. But nobody's been in the postseason. I mean, well, Matt Beerling's played a little bit in the postseason in Maeda, but you know, nobody really prepared you for the postseason or told you what it's going to be like. And I think it's kind of just 26 guys enjoying it for the first time and a guy that's been there a little bit. And I think that's kind of just what we've done is attack it on the fly, not over prepare, just enjoy every moment and try to score more runs than the other team.
That's
So,
good.
Brenan,
I
you're
like
one of
that.
the youngest.
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kratz. You got it?
Oh, sorry, Scotty. I was just gonna say you said about scoring runs.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys play the hat game in the bullpen, where you guys you throw your hat in when you think someone's gonna get a homer? Or do you guys do that, or you guys don't know how to play games because you're all like 12 years old?
I don't want to hear that, but Kerry Carpenter gets the hat throw a lot. Anytime he
Who's your
faces a
guy?
righty.
Who's your guy? Who you like? I'm
Kerry
throwing it
Carpenter
in.
against a righty is an automatic hat throw, especially on a
Yeah,
Sunday.
true.
Got a
I
lot
like
of
that.
Sundays out. But I mean,
Sunday homers.
yeah, he's got
I
the
love that.
Christian. He's got the Christian walkout song. Kerry Carpenter on a Sunday is a lock for a homer against the right-handed pitcher.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, right. His song hits different on Sundays.
Yeah.
I got one for you. So you guys are one of the youngest teams in the sport. You've had a ridiculous run, not just in these last few games, but over the last few months. How many guys in the clubhouse have a bunch of kids running around? You guys are average age like 26. So I'm just always
Right.
curious. I know some guys I talk to will be like, oh, it's great. I get to go home. And, the kid kind of takes me out of all the pressures and just kind of like get away from the game. But then some guys I talk to are like, damn, I got to worry about the kids running around and I'm trying to win games down the stretch. And there's just a lot going on. So I'm just curious what the vibe is there. Because I don't think most of you guys have full-fledged families going on there yet. Do you?
No, there's a lot of fiancés and a lot of new wives, but I think maybe 2 or 3 guys have kids. So I know Will Vest has 2. Trying to think of anybody else.
I mean, have you guys heard
I
of a
think
team
that's
that has that few
honestly
kids?
not it.
No,
But
never.
So do kids lose championships?
I don't. We'll see. We'll see after this year.
There's a story I'll tell you guys of a very famous pitcher who I spoke to back in the day who said he had the game of his life and the kid was going crazy and was not getting help and he had to stay up all night. And I was like, wow. And he was like, that was real. That hit. For a playoff game.
Oof. Mom.
He got the your turn.
Wow, that's tough.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, can't we do your turn the next day?
That kid must have been a pain in you know what.
I think it was that or, the relationship did not last.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. It did not last. But anyway, with this show, I'm curious. It's a real thing. You guys are human beings, Like, I want to know what's going on with life and how it affects the way you guys play.
Yeah, man, I think it's just as few distractions as we can find. It's one goal in mind. It's winning every series we play, and there's not a whole lot else going on. It's strictly baseball. It's strictly get your work in, get ready for the next day, find a way to win. And this might sound bad, but I think this is the first time ever that I've actually shown up to the field and expected to win every day. And I obviously haven't played in the big leagues very long, like 2 months and a couple of weeks, but to show up to the field and expect to win is a good feeling, and I think that's what it's all about.
Do you guys expect to keep this up? Now you have a 5-game series, you have a 7-game series, all that kind of stuff. Do you guys expect and can you keep this whole thing up with just one starter?
Man, it's pitching chaos like you've heard so much, but I think AJ did such a good job the last 2.5 months of preparing us for this, whether he was preparing us for the playoffs or not. I'm not sure what we were doing for 2 months, but just to have that experience, like the other day, you see Andy Ibanez come off the bench, face Josh Hader as a pinch hitter. Like, how many guys in the playoffs have pinch hit 75 times this year? Probably not many. Andy Ibanez has, and he comes in and gets a 3 RBI double off a Hader, and we go up 5-2. Like, just putting us in those spots so often throughout the regular season, whether he's preparing us for the playoffs or not, I don't know what he had in mind, but it ended up working out. But just the experience he gave us and the reps and just for him to be able to do that and for us to win that way and get us prepared for this moment has been the biggest thing, I think.
He put you all in a good position to succeed. Now, I got 3 quick hitter questions, but before I get to that, can you tell all the FT fans we used to work out together, and the fact that we had a turf area where you would throw bullpens, you never wanted to throw a bullpen when I was ready to hit. Can you tell everybody why that is, and were you scared of me hitting a dinger off of your weak sinker?
No, I was not at all. And you wouldn't catch because you were too old and lazy at the time to put the gear on in February.
That makes
No,
sense.
I
That
just
makes tons of
You wouldn't
sense.
even catch the bullpen, let alone hit off of me. You didn't want to hit off me.
Big time. He's big
I
time.
wanted to hit. That's so easy with your weak. All you had was one little wrinkle sinker. Now you're like, ooh, put on some weight, and I was like, I would smash that sinker to the moon, and then you even started trying to throw a four-seamer. I was like, not a chance. And I'm not catching it because I never caught any bullpens in the offseason. Okay, I didn't want anybody else to be jealous that I was catching yours. Some little, Baltimore Orioles schmuck prospect that you were.
Whatever.
All right.
But as far as the workouts, I mean, they were no fun. For you to be there, just on me all the time. You're going to do something. You're going to pick up a weight today. I wasn't there early enough. This is on and on, man.
Sweat one time. You never sweated. But anyway,
we'll
get to the.
Hey,
We'll
he's got a tired act. Kratzy's got a
wouldn't turn the
tired
heat
act,
on.
bro. Don't worry about it.
He wouldn't turn the heat on.
It was cold in there.
55
It was cold in
degrees, I
there.
get sweat.
All right. 3 quick hitter questions for you. All right, you ready? What has surprised you most about the playoffs so far? Crowd energy, some of your teammates' superstitions, anything.
Crowd energy for sure in Houston. That was unbelievable atmosphere. It was the loudest place I've ever been.
Who has given the best pre or post game speech?
Nobody gives a speech except for AJ, so AJ Hinch for sure. But the post-game speeches it's never a pre-game speech. We just see him in the
Post game
dugout.
speeches are legit.
Well, the celebration speeches are the only ones you get. But I think he's 2 for 2 on those.
Fair. Hopefully he's 5 for 5 total.
That's right.
That's the goal. All right, and last one. Has your pregame routine changed now that you're in the playoffs?
No. And honestly, I don't really have much of a pregame routine.
You're so boring. You're easily the most boring guest we've ever had.
What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do as a reliever as a pregame routine?
Get pumped up. Punch somebody in the face one time.
So I can get ready to pitch the 6th inning.
Hey, just keep doing what you're doing, brother. That's all.
Yeah,
And
you
be ready to pitch in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Just be ready anytime.
That's right.
Oh, hey, are you now the greatest player? He went to a high school called Turner Ashby High School in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Technically, I guess it's Bridgewater, but whatever. Yeah. Are you the best player to ever come out of Turner Ashby High School now?
I'm not going to say yes or no.
Yes, you got to say it. We say it with our chest. Yes or no.
Is there another big leaguer you know that came from high school? Who?
There's a couple, but you probably wouldn't know who they were.
Brian Bocock? Remember Brian Bocock?
Bocock's one. Yeah. Did he ever play in the playoffs? I don't think so.
Got him.
No.
So I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
If that's what you wanted to hear.
That's what I wanted to hear.
One season, 2008 Giants. One season. His OPS plus was 12.
He's no Brenan Hanifee, dog. We know that.
Nah. All right, so you take the title. He's got the title. We just termed it. That was it. Hey, Brennan, this was awesome, dude. Yeah, you got it. Hey, we'll hand it out. You're humble, but this was fun, dude. And you got through Kratz. You made it. Good job.
Yeah, I was never scared of him anyway.
Meet me in the parking lot. Meet me in the parking lot.
Oh, good luck, all right? We'll be watching. We're excited for Guardians, Tigers. Have fun, dude. Keep riding it and keep doing your thing where you're coming to the ballpark every day feeling like that. That's awesome to hear that.
I will. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you. Brenan Hanifee with us on FT BRB. So I went on 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland yesterday for a radio appearance. I go on there somewhat frequently. They're good. This was a different group that I usually go on with, but they really talk ball with you.
Okay.
There were a few things that stood out to me, though, and I'll lead with the headliner. We're in the interview. We're going over really in-depth parts of the Tigers Guardians series coming up, and they drop this one on me. They go, so do you think that Clase is going to win the AL Cy Young? Like they almost asked it in a way like Clase is winning the Cy Young, right? And I thought they were joking, and they weren't. And I was like, do people in Cleveland really think Emmanuel Clase is going to win the Cy Young?
They do.
They do.
Oh, my God.
I was shocked. These are super informed baseball people. So it's not that. They're paying attention to the game. But I was like, guys, it's going to be unanimous. Tarek Skubal's winning the AL Cy Young unanimously.
You know it's not going to be unanimous.
It is going
there's
to be
going to be somebody.
Yes.
There's going to be that one
unanimous.
dude. I think it should be unanimous.
Sometimes it's not when you think it is. This one I think is so dumb obvious because there's nobody else close.
Whoa.
How about Mariano Rivera?
Who's close?
That's Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame's different.
I don't
MVP.
give a rat's ass what it is.
MVP is different. I'm telling you. I'm sorry. Hall of Fame's different because there's like Scrooge from 30 years ago who hasn't covered the game in a million years. He just wants to make a statement about steroids. Or whatever.
There's going to be one that's going to make a statement.
No, because this is way smaller samples. Like you've only got 30 voters per award, where Hall of Fame's like hundreds.
Friendly wager. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be one. It's not going to be unanimous.
Okay, I got a unanimous. Kratz is always I always get in beef with everyone, and then
I think it should be unanimous. Yeah,
I do too. But I think it should be, but I actually do think it will be. I think that people are going to have a hard time talking anyone into how someone else should get this. But that's why this is interesting, though. They were like, so you think Clase's got the edge here for Cy Young? And I'm like, are you guys joking? I was like, guys, this isn't even a topic of conversation. I said, Clase's had a sick year. If there were no good starters, like everyone fell off, including Skubal, right? Like you don't have anybody. There is still a world where a reliever can win it, but so many things have to line up.
I think if you ever get test positive for steroids, you should never be allowed to be in the running for any of those awards. That would be my rule. But anyway, I thought Chris Sale was going to win the Cy Young. Oh wait, the Red Sox traded him.
that was cold. Here we go, foulterritoryshop.com. We've got some items on the desk. You see that coffee mug right there? It's right in front of me.
You want to know something?
What?
My dad lost my sweatshirt, man.
No way.
I got to get another one.
You gave him your sweatshirt?
We went to the Rutgers game, the blackout game. I said, hold this sweatshirt for me. I'll be right back. He got up to get something to eat or drink. Came back. I said, the game was about to end. I said, Dad, can you hand me my sweatshirt? He goes, oh, no.
Where?
Never to be seen again. So
somebody's got it.
Somebody's got it.
Todd Father did a giveaway. You did a giveaway, an unplanned giveaway. I'm really upset. Wow. It was comfy, too. I know a guy.
That's tragic.
It is.
That is tragic. It's a good sweatshirt. It's a high-quality sweatshirt. So check it out. Shirts, the whole deal.
Sad.
Yeah, it is sad. It's in the weeds.
Mine got stolen.
From you. Call it up and get another one.
Mm-hmm.
Mine got stolen from me. My daughter stole it.
Oh, that's fair. As long as she doesn't lose it.
Nope.
All right, so let's get in the weeds. We're going to get to the Yankees and the Royals with our next guest, Gary Phillips, soon. So you want to talk Padres-Dodgers?
We could.
Yes.
Ticket prices and the game matchups here. So this is the primetime game, at least on Saturday when you've got them all lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, Cleveland's first. I think that was obvious. They're going to put the two Midwest squads first.
Sure.
Then you've got the Mets, Phillies markets at 4, and the Royals and Yankees, of course, hitting a little bit of nighttime action. But there's two West Coast teams. They're going to get the late games, and there are heavy hitters in this series with the Padres and the Dodgers. Yeah, we can show it. The Bob Nightingale threw some ticket prices out there. Sure. Let's see what Bobo said. What do you say about the cost
Bobo.
of tickets. Average ticket prices for the home games. Phillies are leading the pack. A little over $400. Padres a little over $300. Mets a little under $300. Royals $256. Tigers, Guardians, Yankees, Dodgers. Really?
Wow.
Do you think that has anything to do? Well, that's average. I was going to say, does that have anything to do with, say, a bigger ballpark or like why would the Yankees and Dodgers be at the bottom on this one?
I don't know why the Dodgers would be. The Yankees, maybe, nothing for nothing. It's not like they're playing, the Red Sox or the,
Right. It's not a sexy series.
It's not that like, oh man, must see series. That's why I feel like I think next series might be a different story and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's great. If it's down, I mean, that's good for the fans.
It is. I agree.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong on this? But the teams that are like, whatever. We make it to the playoffs all the time. Yankees, Dodgers, fans just haven't driven up the price yet. Because it's not like the teams are setting that price. It's all price of tickets has nothing to do with, location or anything. It's all just demand, supply and demand. So everybody in the club wants to go to the Phillies Mets series, and I guess people are just kind of like, whatever. Yankees will win out. Dodgers will win out. So we'll just maybe get to the next series. Who knows?
Also, I mean, you don't get Mets Phillies often, and the Mets have a storyline going. Philadelphia has been, in my mind, the number one home crowd over the last few years. That place is different. I've been almost everywhere in the past, 15 years of covering the sport. Philadelphia was crazy. They were crazy pumped. But also, wait, here's an X factor. Mets Phillies, you could get there easy. You're a Mets fan. You're in Jersey. You can get there in an hour, depending on where you're at. I mean,
either one. Where I live here right now, I can go to either one and be a comfortable drive.
Yeah.
I mean, going over the GW, it depends on what time you go. Well, it doesn't depend. It's usually terrible.
It's usually terrible.
But
if it's 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, you're screwed. But it's not far enough to make an excuse to not make a drive to either spot. And same goes for the other side. I mean, if Philly fans want to go to Queens, I mean, it's not crazy, So that could be part of this. A lot of Philly fans. You don't think they'll travel the same? Yeah,
they don't want to go to Queens. Mets fans want to come to Philly. That's just what it's just such a much nicer area than New Jersey or New York.
Why did you say New Jersey? I'm curious. It has nothing to do with that.
Did I say
that has nothing to do with New York and Philadelphia?
I misspoke.
That's how you would say that's trash.
That's trash.
Well, that is trash. That's where Pennsylvania puts their trash. New Jersey.
Really? It's really dirty.
Oh, and New York puts their trash in New Jersey. Just saying.
So they want to be like us.
Trash?
Huh?
All right, we're just good businessmen.
It's all good. Hey, listen,
good businessmen.
People always don't say, "Hey, man, I know somebody from Philly." They go, "Oh, I got a buddy from Jersey." They always say from Jersey,
and they say he's in waste management.
Yeah, and there you go. and listen, we hide our problems in the trash. All right.
Yeah, no big deal. Real quick, and then we'll get into Yanks and all that coming up with our next guest. But looks like Yamamoto now for Game 1.
Yummy.
Clint Pasillas from the FT Fam Dodger territory said he loves Yamamoto for Game 1. Thinks that's their ace.
Little Dylan Cease, Yami.
Yeah.
Yamamoto.
Why didn't they have Cease in one of the first 2 games? I mean, I think Michael King told the story there in one of the games.
Mike King looks really good. I know you guys hit on that, but he looks nasty.
Yeah.
That silly ball he thought.
Sweep.
Silly Manili. Yeah, it's Dylan Cease time. I was looking up now. Like last time we faced Dodgers, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks. So not what Dylan Cease usually does. The Ks are usually up a little higher, in my opinion. And I feel like, now the second time around too. We'll see. This is going to be a really fun series. And they were talking about crowds. They said San Diego was one of the most raucous crowds too as well. So
yeah, San Diego's up there.
Yeah.
We should do a power rankings of playoff crowds so that, 5 people are pumped and love us, and then everyone else just despises us for not putting their team high enough. But Padres are in my top 3 for playoff crowd right now.
I think the price of the tickets will tell you. Just saying. The price of the tickets will tell you the level of ruckus crowds.
Okay.
Ruckus.
Easy for
Did
you
he
to
just
say,
say
Mr.
ruckus?
Philly.
He said ruckus, not
He
raucous.
said
it's
raucous. It's
yeah.
raucous. Yeah, they teach us that in Jersey.
I don't know. I don't know
Pennsylvania,
what ruckus means. Well,
Oh.
ruckus. Yeah, you
Oh.
root for ruckus, but you watch out for raucous crowds.
Yeah, that's the problem. In Pennsylvania, they're just so worried about taking their trash out all the time. So
Yeah,
anyway,
they
Gary
can't.
Phillips is getting ready to join us next, Yanks beat writer for the New York Daily News, and we'll get into the Yanks and the Royals. I'm going to give you two more because I wrote these all down from my little radio interview yesterday because they were good talking points. Okay. So one was they asked me like 20 questions. I was on for a while. They go, is Terry Francona managing the Yankees if they don't win at all this year? And obviously that's not the case. Hours later, he ends up landing with the Reds. I thought it was pretty cool that they actually brought that up.
That's
I know
why I asked.
They're in Ohio, but I was like, how much damage do the Yankees have to do in the playoffs for Booney to feel okay? Because if the Yanks fall in this round,
Trouble.
It's trouble because there's got to be a fall guy. You know, even if you think it was a roster construction issue, cash ain't going anywhere. So it's going to fall on Booney, even if it's not deserved.
They have the track, the perfect track to get to the World Series right now, and they lose this first series. A lot of people, in my opinion, should be in trouble. So, yes, this is. I think the pressure's it's got to be all in the Yankees.
Yes,
you know. So, Aaron Boone, let's go get them boys going because it could be trouble in paradise.
The toughest part for the Yankees is going to be the fact that the Royals have pitchers who have pitchability. They're not just going to outstuff you. And when you can navigate a lineup with pitchability, that's where I see the Royals being able to beat the Yankees in this series. Being able to, they're fine with saying Soto and Judge are not beating us. So we'll walk them. And we'll just pitch around because we can pitches in different locations.
Like that guy, Sam Long. I think he's like 30-something% fastball. He's got, 3-4 breaking pitches, secondary pitches. Guys like that. And they locate him. He locates him. He's not out stuffing you.
Yep. Even Schreiber. Yeah. Schreiber's had success against the Yankees when he was with the Red Sox. You look at Seth Lugo, Waka, guys who are going to speed you up and slow you down on the same plane. It's going to be tough. They struggle against changeups. Salvador Perez knows all this stuff, and Salvador Perez has one of the lowest postseason ERAs of any catcher that's caught over, I think it's like 12 games, something like that, something crazy like that.
If they struggle with changeups, there's a guy that should be playing first for them. Pete Alonso.
Hey now.
That's Mr. Changeup.
How do you do?
All right, let's do this. Gary Phillips joining us, beat writer for the New York Daily News, covering the New York Yankees. And on here, I think for the first time, Gary, right? Is this your debut on FT?
This is my foul territory debut. Thanks for having me on. Most important games of the season.
Yeah, hey, perfect timing. We saved you for the playoffs, right?
Appreciate it.
All right, so I want to bring this conversation right to you, and then we'll get into some more nitty-gritty in the series. Do you think that the Yanks have to win this series for Aaron Boone to keep his job?
I don't know. I was listening to you guys talking a little bit about that in the green room, and I just don't know that the matter of Boone's job security is that dire. In my mind, it's more like they have to lose and something really embarrassing or bad happens. But we've seen in years past, the Yankees have had plenty of opportunities to move on from Boone if that is what they wish to do, and they just haven't gone in that direction. For better or worse, Hal Steinbrenner is not his father. You have, a ton of respect for Boone in that Yankees locker room, starting with Aaron Judge. So, he's well regarded as far as the players are concerned. And yeah, he's got that option. And I just also wonder if they were to move on from him, who would they get that is different? You're probably talking about getting somebody who has, a similar resume, a similar background as the one Aaron Boone began with, when the Yankees first hired him. So I don't know that passes the smell test, but that's just, from me being around here every day, the vibes that I get, and really the track record that the Yankees have shown with this decision in the past.
I don't think he should be going anywhere, but that's my opinion. But I'm also going to shed a little more positivity, or maybe you can tell me wrong. Should Brian Cashman get an extension for the job he did of building this team? I know everyone's going to be like, if they lose, he did a terrible job. But could he have done anything else? He got Juan Soto. He brought in a few pieces at the trade deadline. Could Brian Cashman have done some of his best work in the most fiery offseason that he's ever had in his 20-some year tenure?
I'm not sure if I look at it exactly that way. You mentioned Soto. That's a huge addition. Getting Jazz Chisholm Jr. before the deadline was a huge addition. He's been tremendous for the Yankees so far. But you also look at a team that, as of this very moment, has some holes, has some serious question marks. They didn't do enough really to address the bullpen prior to the trade deadline. Now some other pieces have stepped up, gotten healthy, and made that unit a little better than it was earlier in the season. And then you also, I think, overestimated Alex Verdugo's value. This is the umpteenth year in a row now since Brett Gardner left that left field has been a major concern in one way or another. Now they're talking about whether it's going to be Verdugo in left field, Dominguez in left field, switching back and forth for the playoffs. Neither one is what you would call an all-around player at this very moment. So there's still some pretty big holes here, some that you would think Cashman should have had the wherewithal or maybe a larger effort to improve.
Talking about bullpen, talking about pitching a little bit, I want to hear from you how they're going to go through with the starters here. I know Stroman has struggled a little bit. Nestor Cortez is out. We don't know if he's coming back. So talk to us a little about how you see that planning out, and how do you, where does Clay Holmes fit in all this in the bullpen too as well? Where do you see him?
Yeah, so starting with the two starters that you mentioned, Aaron Boone said the other day that he does not expect Marcus Stroman to start in this series. Frankly, I would be shocked if he starts at all in the playoffs for as long as the Yankees are in it. That's another situation where something would have to have gone wrong for Stroman to be starting one of these games, I believe. Boone also said the other day that Nestor Cortez was still in the no-throw portion of his rehab, recovery, healing, so not expecting to see him anytime soon. As for what we do know, Garrett Cole's going to go in Game 1 tomorrow. You're going to have Carlos Rodon at home in Game 2. And then the Yankees are going to kind of wait and see how those first two games go, who gets used, whether a Clark Schmidt or a Luis Gil needs to be used out of the bullpen. And then they're going to base their Game 3 starter on that. The assumption is it's going to be one of those two guys. The Yankees are weighing a couple different factors. Schmidt has been as consistent as anybody this year when healthy, but he also has experience coming out of the bullpen. Luis Gil, higher risk, higher reward with that electric arsenal and iffy command. He's never been a reliever. Right? Do you want him to come put out a fire in the middle of a playoff game? That might be a little too risky for the Yankees' liking. So that's what we do know. You also asked about Clay Holmes. Aaron Boone's been adamant that he is going to get big outs. That's been the line of thinking even since he was stripped of the closer's role. It's how Boone has continued to talk about Clay Holmes. It would be how I expect Clay Holmes to be used in the postseason. There's some risk involved there as well, obviously. He tied a Yankees single-season record for blown saves this season, but I would expect to see him in some high leverage.
Can we see a true platoon at both first and behind the dish with Austin Wells slumping? So it's kind of a two-part question. Who's going to get the most starts this series at first base, and who's going to get the most starts behind the dish?
At first base, I'm going to guess Ben Rice, and behind the plate, I think it's less of a guess. It's going to be Austin Wells. I know he cooled off a little bit at the end of the year, but the Yankees absolutely love what he brings from the defensive side, from the game managing side, and slump aside, he really did cement himself as a legitimate middle of the order hitter. Whether it's hitting fourth or fifth, they really believe in his bat and believe it has come around after some early growing pains. And you're really not losing much with him on defense. He's turned into a great framer. The pitchers love throwing to him. Obviously, Jose Trevino is a platinum glover and highly respected for his defensive work, but he just doesn't have the offensive upside that Wells does. So I would expect him to still get the most starts behind the plate.
I want to dive into hitters meetings. Erik and I has been a part of a bunch of them. I know you're starting to see one this year. It's a little unconventional, but it works for the Yankees. You wrote an article about, the Yankees and their hitters meetings, how one of the coaches had an umbrella hat on their head. You were listening to music. You don't know the extent of what goes on in there, but can you explain to us, what you've heard and, the article that you wrote about it?
Yeah, so Todd's referring to a story that came out this morning in which, all season long I've been kind of asking about these hitters meetings that the Yankees have. In the clubhouse, there's a war room right next to the clubhouse where reporters can have access to. We can't go in the war room, but we can hear loud screams, blasting music, flashing colorful lights and strobe lights all season long. Sometimes the door will crack open and there's music videos with, bikini-clad women on them. So a couple times I've also noticed Yankees hitting coaches James Rowson and Casey Dykes walking in with umbrella hats. So I've just been poking around all year asking what goes on in there. It sounds more like a party. The guys insist, they're just prepping for that night's pitcher and the pitchers are going to face that series. But Rowson also talked about how it's important to have fun in those situations. And it certainly seems like the Yankees do a lot of that during their hitters meetings. Even Matt Blake, the team's pitching coach, said, we're a little more business oriented in our meetings. So certainly seems unconventional and different, out of the ordinary. But I actually wanted to ask you guys that because you've been in some hitters meetings. Is that par for the course, or are they doing something a little funky here?
Matt Blake's pitchers meetings are so boring. And when you see him, tell him I said that. The Yankees hitters meetings, it sounds like it's the same. I saw the list of songs that you've heard come out of the war room, and I know they're still playing Despacito. So I know what the visuals for the Despacito music video. I didn't even realize they had music videos anymore, but in 17 and in 20, actually, did they do it in 17, Todd? Do you remember? Did they have the big hitters meetings with the less clothed women music videos, or did they not do that in 17?
No, I don't think they did that.
Okay, so it was in 20. It was during COVID. They started bringing that in, and basically, all I got to say about it is the fact that it was enjoyable to go to these meetings because it was just videos of pitchers that you're going to face giving up absolute dingers. And they first start it with anybody that's that's hit a home run off of this pitcher, and then they go to anybody on the team that's hit a home run. So you get some good hooting and hollering, especially when a guy like me hits a homer off of somebody. They're like, "What? Cracky? No way! This guy hit a home run!" And so everyone, yee, woo, 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 they're hooting and hollering. But I thought you hit it perfectly in your article about the kind of environment that a hitter's meeting needs to be, because it'd be boring if you could do 162 of those.
Well, that's exactly what Juan Soto said. Got to mix it up a little bit over 162 games. So yeah, we can always hear what's going on in there because we're standing right next to it, but it's behind clouded glass, so we never really quite see what's going on. So it was kind of funny talking to guys how comically secret they were being about it all year. But I thought it was a funny read, and I appreciate the kind words.
I have a follow to this. Wasn't part of the article last year about the Padres, how some Padres hitters were pissed that Soto wouldn't pay attention during the hitters meetings? Do you remember reading about that? Do you guys remember this? Where he would put the headphones
like that,
in?
Yeah.
This was in, I think, Ken's story. I don't want to misquote him, but it definitely was a thing, right? Where he would go to the hitters meetings, he would have his headphones on, and some of the guys were pissed, and he's like, I don't want to hear this because it's going to screw me up, and I'm great. So do you remember this, Kratz? I'll find it as we're chatting, but
Yeah.
But my question is, did that change? Like, was it just, kind of a boring hitters meeting, and now he's entertained. Now he's in it.
Could certainly be something to that. He seemed to be a really big fan of him. Alex Verdugo was a really big fan of him. They wouldn't give many details, but they all really stress it is a good hitters meeting. So
keep the players in tune and fixed. I call those feel good meetings because it shows, how you used to hit somebody. And I remember when I played with the Rangers, and I was one of the older dudes there, and when we're facing, the Pirates, and when we're facing a guy that nobody's facing, I'm like, well, you're going to see a couple hits from me. And I'm like, all right, now I feel good about myself again, moving on and over. But yes.
This is a real thing, by the way. I'm getting it. There's a Brittany Giroli article from last year, how he would have his AirPods on and it would piss dudes off. And so there's all kinds of articles. What people's take on closed-door hitters meetings before each series, often have his AirPods in his ears, 3 team sources told them. So I don't know, not to make the light fun article a little more in depth, but I am curious, like you see, right, Soto go from the Padres to the Yankees, and I'm in for the juice. I'm like, did they change him? Were they like, hey, dude, we don't do that here. Like, you take the AirPods off and you have a time with the boys.
Rosen did say if the Yankees, ultimately win it all, we can go back, circle back to this story, talk about what goes on in the meetings in a little more detail, so I can always follow up on Juan and his level of engagement.
Okay, I like it. Let's finish with this. Any other thoughts on the series that you think could tilt this thing based on how much you've seen the Yankees and what you know about the Royals and their matchups this year, and even just seeing what KC just did to a Baltimore team that played pretty well against the Yankees this year?
I'm really curious to see what impact speed has on this series. Obviously you have a couple quick Royals, namely Bobby Witt Jr., that can really run their bases, really make things happen with their legs. The Yankees, on the other hand, they've had some trouble throwing base runners out throughout the season. You go back to that record-setting Boston game a couple months back that really exposed that weakness. So I'm curious to see how that has an impact over these next couple games, and I'm curious to see if the Royals can steal a win here at Yankee Stadium. Waka has had lots of success against Judge. Cole Reagan's had some success when he pitched here a couple weeks ago, and the Yankees have had their fair share of problems against lefties. So curious to see where the series stands after 2 games and heading back to Kansas City.
Judge 1 for 18, 11 Ks versus Waka. That's something.
Wow.
That's something to look at.
Wow, you don't see that often.
1 for 18, 11 punchies. Oof.
How many guys own Aaron Judge?
Not many.
Not many with that sample size.
The guy who has the best numbers actually against Waka is Anthony Rizzo, but I would be very surprised if he's a factor here.
Yeah,
but Scott thinks they're better because Ben Rice is in. What do you think?
I do.
What do you think? Scott yesterday said if both were healthy, he would rather have Ben Rice in there. Who has more value to the Yankees out there playing first base?
That's an interesting question. I mean, when you frame it like that, playing first base, I think it's Anthony Rizzo. He's the superior defender. He's looked a lot better defensively since he came back from the fractured arm. Rice is catcher by trade, still learning the position. We saw some growing pains the first time he was up when it came to his defense. As far as offense, I think it's not unreasonable to say there's a better chance of Ben Rice running into a fastball and hitting it over the fence than Anthony Rizzo at this point in their careers. But Rizzo also brings some championship experience. He's playoff tested. He's that savvy veteran, very respected in the clubhouse. But those are also some things that he can provide even if he's hurt. So I am interested to see what kind of numbers Rice puts up here in the postseason. I'm also curious to see if he's necessarily the everyday guy there. Oswaldo Cabrera was the Yankees' backup first baseman toward the end of the season. He's looked fine there whenever he's needed to play first, and he's also been hitting pretty well for the last couple months.
There you go. See? Yeah, we had a good debate the other day on this, and I'm like, it ain't cut and dry. Not in my mind, but we'll see. We'll see how Benny Ballgame does in this series. Gary, thank you for joining us. This was great. Appreciate the time, man, and enjoy the series.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, and let's do it again. Long postseason.
Absolutely. Yes, we will hit you up, and you can give him a follow at Gary H. Phillips. Check out his work in the New York Daily News. Be right back. I just want to add more context to this from Drolly's story. So she said, when closed-door hitters meetings began each series, because this also plays to Soto too. It's kind of a neutral comment here. She said Soto would often have his AirPods in his ears, 3 team sources told her. Teammates were perturbed, even though he had a legitimate reason. The early minutes were often spent on opposing pitchers' tells or signs they might be tipping pitches. Soto, who has always been a cerebral hitter, told the coaches he did not want those details floating around his brain in the batter's box. So,
Okay.
have you guys ever seen a hitters meeting where a dude's just like in the back being the badass kid in class who's going to detention because he's not paying attention? He's got the headphones in and all that.
No, I've never heard of that, but
You have?
Where dudes just completely check out of a hitters meeting all the time. Some guys do not want that. Todd, you didn't want a lot of information. Doesn't mean you're necessarily checking out, but you didn't want a lot of information. And some guys would get so mad at it. But also, some of the coaches that delivered some hitters meeting stuff, I remember looking around when I go to new teams and I'd be like, you guys do this every day? This is boring. It's like,
oh yeah,
fastball up and away, cutter down and away, slider 53% of the
I'm
time.
like 45 minutes
And I'm
long.
like, what? No. And hitters meetings are really just a fun pump it up set. The best ones are exactly what he wrote about. Just a fun pump it up session. Like, oh, I shot this dude. Oh, who got him? Oh, no way. He pointed up. He pointed up on that one. No way, that's a dinger.
Call it.
You shot a dude?
Yeah. You shot him.
that
You
even-
never said you shot him?
Never heard of that. Scooter. That's definitely.
I mean, we never said that in the broadcast
I mean,
booth,
you
but
can't-
I would get in trouble for that if
Yeah,
I
I
was
know,
broadcasting that.
If somebody said, "Yo, you just shot that dude," I would be like,
Yeah, but Kratz is watching these
Call the
90s
cops!
MTV
Call the
music
cops!
videos
Yeah,
in these
exactly.
hitters meetings.
No, you're
So,
right.
you know, that those MTV music videos, they're poisoning the brain.
he needs to go take a nap.
Patriots could never say in their meetings. Patriots could never say that in their meetings.
I've been getting thank you. I would take that. I've been getting thank yous. A lot of fans that are like, you know what? I've seen this team in
you
the
had
freaking
Brewers too?
ALCS. I had Brewers too.
Oh man,
you know why? I'm just like, I got to do something different.
Doesn't matter.
I was like, Diamondbacks Rangers last year. Like
not
I was like, I'll take the risk. I'll be the guy who went with something crazy and it was off. I'm like, I don't care.
You
And
were
plus,
trying to go crazy and being like, "Wow, that guy is so smart." You
I
should've-
hedged too because my preseason pick to win it all was the Phillies. So I'm like, if I do 2 different
See,
picks,
that's
for
why
the
I
NL,
stuck with mine. I think.
no, I don't want to do that.
I think I picked the Dodgers. I got to go back. I got it in my notes.
Your
I'm
preseason
sure you
pick.
did. As soon as they signed Shohei and Yamamoto, you were like, Dodgers,
Yeah.
World Series champion, 10 years in a
I
row.
did. You're right. You're
So
right.
did
I'm just
everybody
going
online
back.
except for us. But anyway, thank you everyone. Let's do locks. So you're welcome, America. You cashed out on Tobias Myers plus money to hit 5 strikeouts, and he did. AJ's massive parlay was a no. And I actually learned something. It's not really a bet I don't think I've ever gone that route. So I was texting Kratz last night. I was like, Quintana and Myers tied on case. So you got to push. You got nothing. You got to rain out.
It was a good one too. He got it last. Both of them got it in their last batter. Tobias Myers got the punch out, and Quintana got Gary. The whole at bat it was like 3-2 foul ball. I'm like, throw the changeup, and then
Camby.
finally threw the changeup. El Gary got him.
I love the crown, by the way.
Yeah. That's for
On
you
my
because you
head.
like going to Burger
That is
King.
well deserved.
Because I tore it up this year.
You did.
What was
You
it
tore it up.
24-10 or
You
something?
won like almost 5 G's.
Well
so
deserved.
that's a lot of money.
Thank you very much. And that crown looks mighty good.
It looks good. So you take the dub, and now you got to win in the playoffs.
That's fine.
Are you a playoff performer?
look more
Because
like
the regular season is one season.
Am I a 5 o'clock hitter or am I a 7 o'clock hitter?
Right. So what do you got for 7 o'clock on your locks for obviously
what?
Saturday game 1s?
And the reason why I did this parlay is because it was minus 190 for the Phillies, and people don't want to be betting.
No, that's
that
too
much.
steep.
It's too steep. So I went with two teams parlay at plus 128. Philly to win money line and the Yankees to win money line on Saturday. 300 to win 384, if I'm not mistaken. How do you do? Started up big. Let's go East Coast teams besides the Mets.
All right, so Phillies and Yankees.
Money line.
Parlay Pap, King gets to go first, and then Parlay Pap next because he's got one of your picks. Let's see what he's got, where he is, and what he's wearing.
FT fan, what's up? It's your boy Playoff Parlay Pap coming to you. And break it down real simple for y'all. Look, we got two games where they don't even know who the starter is, and we're going up against two aces, okay? That's right, the Guardians. Bibby. However you say his name. BB, Bibby, stud. He gonna win. Wheeler, Fields, stud. My Fields, actually, I got them at plus 220 to win the whole thing this year, so Fields, don't let me again. I had him at plus 1,400 last year to win the World Series. I can only get him at plus 200 this year to win the World Series, so I'm taking them. So don't let me down. So basically, in a nutshell, folks, this is what we're doing. We going Wheeler, and we going Bibby, Guardians, Phils, parlay them together, get that cheese, baby, and we're going to put 200 on it. Let's go.
There you go. That's a nice start there. Bibby. It's Bibby, but I'll take it.
We'll take it.
Whatever. You can go on whatever you want if he gets the dub for Pap. So good job, Pap.
Todd, I want you to tell me which game you feel the most nervous about after I tell you my lock is over 7.5 in the Dodgers-Padres game. I think the Dodgers lineup comes out this series, and they show what they didn't show last year. They've been scoring runs. Yamamoto's been giving up runs against the Padres. He's been good, but he's not been perfect. Cease, same thing. I see this as more of like a 7-5 game. So I'm going over, putting 110 down and minus 110.
I like it. I do like it.
You with
the Dodgers are going to exude their will, is what you were trying to say. Love that. Go ahead,
minus
Scooter.
110 pick from Plus Money.
My first minus of the year. I didn't like any of my plus picks. Other than I thought the Royals were going to win, but then I saw Todd was going to pick the Yankees to win. No way I'm picking against Todd.
Yeah, you're funny. We'll see how playoff Todd is.
We'll see. All right, so here's mine. Kratz, let me get your thoughts. I'm going on the Phillies and the Mets. I got Wheeler over 6.5 Ks, but it was huge. It was like minus 140. So I'm like, I mean, the run total's low. It's like 7.5, and I was like, I feel like there's going to be some offense. Let me just tick down here. I found over 3.5 to get myself to plus 105. So I'm pairing that with the 7+ Ks for Zach Wheeler. Put down a hundo to win 105. Do you like that? Or you think because the Mets swing and miss a lot? But what concerns me with touch and run totals, I mean, who the heck knows? The Mets just pop out of the blue for that one crazy inning. It could come against anyone.
Yeah, so the Phillies can score 4 runs in the first.
Oh,
so,
easy. Yeah. So, but also, could you see it being, a 4-2 game or something like that, right? So I'm just banking on it not being a 2-0 game.
Agreed.
And the strikeouts are good. He's literally against the Mets. He's been 6-8, 6-8, and his last few starts in just the regular season, 6-8, 6-8. So, I mean, the 7 is just spot right in the middle. I love it. I see 7 innings out of Zach Wheeler, so I think you get there.
Yeah, exactly. I think they'll give him length. He loves to shove it to the Mets, especially in a playoff series like this. I mean, he played for them and then he left. So anyway, you want to get yourself involved in some playoff action. Your first bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets is on when you use the code FOUL, F-O-U-L, deposit at least $10 into your new account and place your first wager. Then depending on what it is, you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. And if that happens, those bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're going to slap on a Let's do this for 2 minutes. So if you're a Padres fan, you got to be in San Diego to get tickets to the game.
You got to
Essentially.
you got to live in a certain area.
Yeah,
It looks like
they're zip coding you, which has happened in the past.
yeah, they don't want to see much blue at their games.
No, but here's the deal: we're in modern times. If you want to get to that game and you're a Dodger fan, you'll be able to get to that game.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So
you can
like,
manipulate.
are we really doing that? You know, you're
Yeah.
really just punishing some lazier people that have to, like, you know, they just want to do one click and be there. But you know, Alana Rizzo put them as the dork of the week because she's, you know, a Dodger person. And she's like, really? You're that soft? You got to worry about preventing people from going over there? If they want to get there, they're going to get there. You know, that's what Ken Rosenthal told an epic story on Fair Territory on Thursday about how he wanted Bruce Springsteen tickets and they were limiting the zip code. It was like in Virginia.
Yeah.
And he found some random person from his college that didn't even know and got that person to buy him tickets back in the day. So good for him. You okay with it? Haven't they done this with Mets and Phillies at one point?
Yeah, they tried to, and Phillies and Nats, because it's so close. They wanted to, not obviously in the playoffs, Phillies and Nats, but they wanted to restrict your. I don't think it's soft. I just think it's a move that other teams have done. Is what it is. I like it. I like any kind of drama between rivals because. Don't get it twisted. This is the Dodgers' new rival. I don't care what anybody said. I know the Diamondbacks beat them last year. I know the Giants have been their historic rival and gets very violent in the stands. That's weird to me too, but this is their new rival.
So if you're a fan of a ball club and you spend your whole life devoted to the team and the games and you're watching everything, but you don't live right there and you want to finally go to a playoff game, then you got to put the work in.
Yeah,
right? Or you better have a good friend in the area.
Uncle that lives in the area.
Yeah, like Alana said.
I'll Venmo you.
Yeah, you know, what if you live in like Arizona or something and you want to fly to the game and you're a big Padres fan or whatever. She said there's plenty of Padres fans in LA that moved from San Diego. So they don't like you. That's what they're telling you. They don't like you. They like the people from around the ballpark better than you, and they want you to hustle and probably have to pay someone off to get the tickets. Yeah, I don't like it. Some people were asking about Kratz hats before. They're like, what is he wearing today?
Yeah.
What do you got?
It's like a green tint.
It's actually blue.
Oh, that's nasty.
It's dirty.
Yeah.
That's my freshman year. Well, freshman and sophomore year because we wore the same hat. Freshman year hat for baseball at college.
Oh.
EMU.
College?
I wore it today because Hanifee's high school was literally like 10 minutes right down the road.
You're never going to get it, but Eastern Michigan is probably 5 times the size of where we're talking about here. Go ahead.
Why?
Is Eastern Mennonite a big school?
What? It's like 1,200 people.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So he said Eastern Michigan. I said Eastern Michigan's probably
don't put
way
that
bigger.
hat on again. That is disgusting. That is one of the dirtiest hats I've ever seen in my life. You couldn't call up the coach 13. Or people you know that, hey, you might send me a couple hats. I do Kratz hats all the time. They probably went.
You want me to call the coach up to get a brand new hat that I didn't wear my freshman year of college?
Yes.
Undergrad numbers for Eastern Mennonite are sub 1,000. We're in the
he needs to start wearing
900 range.
His old catcher's mask. And then it'd be like Kratz hats, and masks.
Smelly masks.
God,
Eastern Michigan's got about 13,000 people.
Now.
I love
it. Did you hear Brenan? Brenan said, he goes, oh yeah, real. When I said meet me in the parking lot, he goes, oh yeah, real nice with it, Thomas. You have to go back and listen. It was a good dig. I like that.
Good quiet dig.
Yep. You think Judgy's going to have a big series or Jose Ramirez, some of the superstars? No?
Yes.
Not Judgy? You think Ramirez will, Judge won't? Why?
Nope.
'Cause he
I think
won't
the
come on
Royals are
next
going to
week?
pitch around him. I think Judge might walk 6 times. I looked at the over/under for walks. You can't. I mean, as soon as that number goes down, I'm taking it. Salvi won't let him beat him.
That's Salvi's thing. He's going to
I
circle
mean, that's
Judgy.
any winning catcher's thing.
Yeah. I always wonder, though, during the year why so many people pitch to him. When he's on one of those freaking heaters for a month and a half, I'm like, why? Why?
Don't know.
Leave him
Ego.
alone.
Ego.
Big
You
leaguers
want
have
to be the
egos?
guy. You want to be the guy. You want to be the guy that gets Judgy out. I can get him out. He strikes out 190 times a year. That's it.
That's stupid. Be
Playoffs,
smart.
Ego goes out the window. Ego goes
Right.
out the window.
Smart, KC. Very interesting. We'll see. Could be a good series. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. We'll be back on Monday, obviously. 1 to 3 more FT.